Today we're talking about the time a group of high schoolers nearly brought the gaming industry to its knees.
Talking about $200 million worth of intellectual property at a low-end estimate. Secondly, the audacity of the hackers was incredible to me. The fact they didn't just hack into companies, they actually organized a physical break-in and burglary at Microsoft headquarters to steal an Xbox prototype.
This is the Xbox Underground. Thank you to ZocDoc for sponsoring this video. Being a big kid has its perks. You can eat ice cream for dinner. And you want to binge watch your favorite TV show, and you can't. Nobody can stop you, guys, if you want to watch a TV show all day. But what happens if a meal-sized portion of ice cream gives you boo-boo belly and 20 straight hours in front of a screen rots your eyes? You'll need a doctor. That's where ZocDoc comes in. ZocDoc is a free app and website that makes finding the right doctor easy. You can search and compare high-quality, in-network doctors for any medical need, mental, skincare, you name it, dental, that's what I use it for. You can instantly book an appointment. Most appointments happen within 24 to 72 hours. Sometimes it is the same day instantly. With over 100,000 healthcare providers across every specialty, you have plenty of options with ZocDoc. Plus, you can filter doctors by which insurance you have, who's located nearby, and who has the best rating by verified patients. Not only that, you can see their available appointment times before you book. If and when I need doctors, I'm gonna use ZocDoc, and you should too. Go to zocdoc.com/Oompaville and book a top-rated doctor today. That's zocdoc.com/Oompaville, or click the link in the description, and thank you to ZocDoc for supporting this video. Hackers have been around for quite a while. The internet has been a thing for quite a while, and nowadays the internet is integrated into every single system and device. There are refrigerators with AI that read the contents of the refrigerator. There are apparently 11 smart shoes that are digitally connected. Why? What the heck? Why? Also, nothing is safe from prying eyes. If you've got access to the internet and you're a device, somebody can look at you who isn't the person who is supposed to look at you.
AT&T says hackers access call and text records of nearly all of its cell customers.
But to talk about Xbox Underground, we've got to go back in time a little bit to the early 2000s when the Xbox Original was released. My first console of all time, all right, guys? And there was a group of ne'er-do-wells, a group of high schoolers that nearly brought the gaming industry to its knees, once again called the Xbox Underground.
I have shit to the US military. I have shit to the Australian Department of Defense.
I first heard about the Xbox Underground back in 2012 or 13 when I was in college. For network security, by the way. Their goal wasn't to hold hostage the projects that development teams had spent years creating for the enjoyment of gamers worldwide. At the start, these were just gamers who were curious about the capabilities of the beautiful device that was called the Xbox. The device that changed everything. Xbox, I love Xbox. I have a green one of the green Halo ones. I love Halo and Xbox. Oh, God. But it sucks now. Xbox sucks now.
The most powerful game system now has the ultimate holiday offer. Get Tetris Worlds and Star Wars and Clone Wars, 2 months of Xbox Live and an Xbox for only what? Rated E to T. Xbox. It's good to play together.
I shouldn't say that. That's really rude. I still hold a great deal of love for it. Not really. Anyways, the Xbox was revolutionary because it had high-end computer-level hardware inside of the console, which compared to other consoles, it left them in the dust. This thing was badass. For example, the original Xbox had an Intel processor and an NVIDIA graphics card, both popular brands for computers, and if you compared that to the PlayStation 2 at the time, it had its own proprietary, unique hardware. The Xbox also had a built-in hard drive compared to the popular storage method, which was memory cards. Why? This allowed somehow the Xbox to load faster and offered more flexibility for save data and the ability to mod the system.
Unpack the BIOS with EVTool, apply the patch using Luna IPS, repack the BIOS, make any other tweaks, i.e. the file name of the dashboard that you'll be using, and then use the web server running on the mod chip to upload and install everything.
Also, the aesthetic for the original Xbox felt like you were handling something different than anything that had come before it. Some kind of alien. Shut up, dumbass. It really did feel awesome. There's no denying that.
Here it is, the one, the only, the Microsoft Xbox.
Wow.
PlayStation's cool. I love PlayStation. I love the other ones, GameCube or whatever the Game Circle. But Xbox felt like you had an alien artifact and it went woo, and it had like this green light and shit and the big fat ugly stupid controller. God, that was a terrible controller, but I loved it.
Oof. That feels nice.
Felt like you were turning on a nuclear reactor and you weren't sure if that shit was gonna go critical. It was like a potential reactor number 4 moment every single time you hit the power button. Its dashboard was dark and green, like something out of The Matrix from 1999. Code is green, computers are green, everything can be hacked. It's very Matrixy. There was so much fun to be had on the original Xbox. It really was a beautiful piece of equipment, all right? But for some people, there was just as much, if not more, fun to be had with the innards of the Xbox versus the games. For us laymen, hackers could have countless hours of fun with the Xbox original because it was essentially just a computer with a box around it. Different box, all right? A different OS on it.
When I took it apart, it was very clearly a PC to me on the inside, right? And being able to run my own code on it, put Linux on it to make the game do what I want to do, right, was just a natural impulse to me.
Andrew Huang, who goes by the username Bunny, was interviewed by Jack Rysider of the Darknet Diaries podcast. We'll have a link down below. You guys can go check that out. He expressed the belief that this was just a high-end PC, and this high-end PC should be able to do high-end PC things, not just play whatever Microsoft-approved games and programs are released, which I do agree. The DRM, the proprietary shit, it would be way cooler if they just sold PCs that, I don't know, that'd be cool, like a Steam Deck, but a box, I'd have one of those for sure. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, it was basically a high-end PC. It should be able to run, my word processing software, or I should be able to just tell it to boot to a shell or something like that so I can do what I want with it. Seemed like a reasonable prospect to me.
However, you can't make a lot of money that way, and the obstacle in Bunny's way was that you needed an encrypted key to access the firmware that kept everything together in the Xbox, and that had not been discovered yet.
So the firmware image needed to be signed, encrypted to a key, and the key was not known, obviously, to the people who didn't have it. And so I couldn't put my own code in there unless I had that key.
Challenge accepted. Forget about playing the games on the Xbox. The game now was to find this key and somehow make it so he could run his own software.
Eventually, Bunny got a hold of the code after creating a circuit board that captured data for his specific and special purpose. The data was captured and the key was input into the system, and after some experimentation, he got the key to work for himself.
Simply put, I built a little circuit board that could capture the data going across that bus and log it to another piece of hardware that we could use for later analysis. And then essentially, as when we sort of boot the device, we could watch the that secret ROM going to the CPU, and then observe the key embedded inside that secret ROM.
In 2003, Andrew, aka Bunny, wrote a book called Hacking the Xbox, an introduction to reverse engineering, like some shit out of Los Alamos, some Area 51 alien stuff. Reverse engineering what? A UAP from the ocean? No, an Xbox. That's still cool. That's still cool. It's a little bit not as cool, but it's still cool. This is a 291-page ebook that you can download for free now. So if you want to hack an Xbox original, you can. It's kind of interesting. You can continue your hobby on your own if you so choose. His book became pretty popular at the time, but he was only one of many people who attempted and succeeded in cracking and hacking their way into the original Xbox. Hackers began creating their own UI and dashboards for the Xbox original, even allowing Nintendo games to play. They got rid of the black and green and they added this. Wow, that's amazing. This was a group of rapscallions, all right? And one such individual was David Pecora. He was very young at the time when all this started, only in high school, but he was incredibly intelligent. He was one of many people obsessed with Halo, and he spent time hacking the game to alter its physics engine. He became influential in this space by creating utilities that would help other players change the weather in Halo 2. Now that's cool as fuck. fuck. David, by the way, is one of our main characters in this story, a founding member of the Xbox Underground. Okay, this guy is absolutely a legend. So some time goes by and the Xbox 360 is announced, and Microsoft, being a tech giant, they seem to have learned from the Xbox Original's vulnerabilities, and their next console, the Xbox 360, was highly fortified. They aimed to lock hackers out for good so that their new device wouldn't suffer the same fate as their original device. You know, like having fun with it. Oh no, we can't allow that. We can't allow that to happen. No fun can be had. No weather alterations in Halo. Dude, go f yourself, Steve Jobs, or whoever the guy that has to do with Microsoft is. The guy who puts that toxin into those mosquitoes or whatever. Remember how with the Xbox Original, Bunny had grabbed the encryption key by altering a circuit board to read it as it was input to the system? With the Xbox 360, Microsoft avoided this issue by making it so the key never left the chip that it was on, which made it impossible to read the data with an outside device. So it's in there, right? It's in there.
The Xbox 360 architecture was more secure than the original Xbox. Remember how Bunny was able to sniff that key off of one of the buses on the Xbox? Well, the 360 made it so the key never left the chip that it was on, making it impossible to do what Bunny did. So all new methods for getting custom software to run on the Xbox had to be done.
That being said, there was still some modding that could be done to an Xbox 360, but nothing compared to the just wild west of the Xbox Original. Modern Vintage Gamer on YouTube has videos covering some of these exploits and how Microsoft's new security implementations made it so that if they become aware of an exploit, they could patch it by pushing a mandatory update through Xbox Live.
The PowerPC-based Xenon CPU that powered the Xbox 360 implemented eFuse technology. Its purpose was simple: to prevent from downgrading. If Microsoft was made aware of any potential exploits to circumvent unsigned code, they'd simply push out a firmware update via Xbox Live and blow an eFuse in the CPU, which meant there would be no way to ever go back to an exploitable firmware revision. There's even a specific API call in the Xbox 360's kernel to blow an eFuse.
They kind of have this weird North Korea propaganda infinite fix thing going on. It's pretty impressive from a security perspective, but also I just like it when people ruin shit. I just like ruining shit. I think it's fun. It's part of life, I feel like. Yeah! Hey, bud, be quiet. Hey, bud, AB conversation, see your way out of it, all right? Hey, dickweed. So the modding ability of the Xbox 360 was pretty limited without the key to unlock all of the capabilities the machine was capable of. But that didn't stop the Xbox Underground. Even though the access was more difficult for the Xbox 360, there were plenty of exploits once again. One exploit found early on was the Xbox 360's drives being able to be read by Windows, allowing for copying and pirating of games, which I never did that. I never did that as a 12-year-old boy. I didn't do any of that stuff.
This research started out by exploiting original Xbox DVD drives to read Xbox 360 discs and backup discs. This proved successful without too much trouble, then shifted focus on getting Xbox 360 drives working under Windows. This was trickier, with many challenge response checks in place. The specialist released a small unlock program that allowed the original Xbox 360 drive, the Hitachi GDR3120L, to unlock under Windows and its contents read and dumped. But his theory proved to be correct. By March of 2006, his video and discovery proved a custom firmware could indeed boot backups.
But that exploit didn't allow for the running of outside code, which is where the original Xbox modding excelled. And this was the desire of the Xbox 360 modders, especially given the massive improvements to the Xbox 360 specs over the original. An exploit had been found at one point allowing custom code to run through a shader asset file for a King Kong game, but that exploit was patched before it became public knowledge.
The King Kong exploit was developed in November of 2006 but was not disclosed publicly until February of 2007. Microsoft had already been made aware of the exploit and it was patched even before it was announced to the public. And because of eFuse technology, there was no way to go back to this firmware after you had updated.
You could have done quite a bit through that. But hold on! There was a further exploit found that allowed the circumvention of that patch by taking advantage of what became called the JTAG hack, which allowed you to roll back the version of your system which is something it shouldn't be able to do. That's a pretty big security risk there. And the JTAG hack was only an ability of the few systems made before December 2007, which relative to the vast number made in total, because at that point Microsoft updated the hardware to prevent this exploit, there wasn't that many, but still there were people doing illicit shit on the Xbox 360 and trying their best.
This will be critical once we get the thing JTAG'd and you want to move some software over to it. Having a USB to go between your console and your computer will be important. Got some little links of wire here. This is between 28 and 30 AWG wire, so it's not real thick stuff, but just a couple of little links of that we'll need.
So with the hardware update, it felt like everyone was back at square one, and if you didn't have a system made before December 2007, you were up shit creek without a paddle, my friends. At least it seemed that way for a while, until it was discovered that there was a version of the Xbox 360 that was not publicly available. What does that mean? Well, have you ever heard of a dev kit, my friends?
The Xbox XDK includes libraries and compilers and various tools used to create games for the Xbox. The XDK has got integrated into Visual Studio, and it's what's used to create the games on the actual Xbox 360. The XDK can also be used to record game footage and make screenshots and trailers and stuff like that.
Since it was impossible to retrieve the encryption key like had been done on the Xbox original, the only way you'd be able to access the Xbox 360 system's deeper functionalities was if you had an Xbox 360 development kit, a specialized version of the console given only to game development teams that Microsoft had thoroughly vetted to ensure they were legitimate. All right, but amen, but whole. So what was the difference between a publicly available Xbox 360 and a dev kit? Well, there were visual differences. There's a large blue extension from the top of the console, and with a dev kit, no key was needed to access all the magic functionalities. Everything was unlocked since they were only handed out to screened development teams.
The Xbox 360 dev motherboards were used by programmers themselves to make video games for the Xbox. You could only get one after Microsoft vigorously screened you to be a legitimate developer. It enabled a lot more features on the Xbox and gave them extra access to do things. So under no circumstance did Microsoft ever want these in the hands of consumers, much less Xbox hackers. They called these dev kits, and they looked, acted, and worked just like a regular Xbox 360, but with a ton more features.
A thread on gamedev.stackexchange.com, a game development blog where people developing games can ask each other questions, raised the question 12 years ago, asking about how one would go about getting a development kit through proper channels, with a top response sharing that you would either need to work for a certified Xbox 360 publisher and or are already an established developer. And on top of that, indie studios could get access by requesting to join the Registered Developers Program after proving they have the capability to make proper Xbox games. You know, like this one and this one. Dude, I love doing that so much. I don't know what games they just put up there. Oh, by the way, I have a development company called Sour Boys Interactive. It's pretty cool. You should go wishlist our game down below. It's called Black Pine Incident Response. There's a demo available. I can't just tell you guys how excited I am to be back in the world of computers and programming. I've been working at this shit for a year. It's amazing. We got a really awesome, fun team, and I can't wait to take your guys' feedback and actively incorporate it into a fun little indie game that we're going to be releasing hopefully in a few months. Go wishlist that if you want, I guess. It's literally the most important, fun thing I've ever done in my life.
Okay. Onward, down the trail. It's really freaking dark. Really freaking dark.
So with these lofty criterion needed to access a dev kit, high schoolers and dweebs, dorks, and nerds in their basements would find it hard, if not impossible, to gain access through proper channels, at least. Now, you probably can see where this is going. Eventually, some dev kits, well, we'll get into it, all right? In spite of the dev kits being hard to get, there was still a group of hackers that had the necessity of needing to access all the functionality of the Xbox 360. So, and to be able to do what they needed to do, it would be a necessity if they wanted to continue hacking and modding the new system at the same level that they did the OG Xbox. They got a taste, all right, and then they can't go back now. So before we go further into Xbox Underground, there was another group of modders and hackers called Team Avalanche, and Andrew Huang and another individual named Rowdy and or Howdy were part of Avalanche. And this is very important. Rowdy knew a guy who worked at an electronics recycling facility and got a call one day about Xbox DVD drives that were being sold there for cheap. And while he was there, he found some strange blue Xbox 360s, and he realized what he'd acquired after taking a few of them home.
Rowdy had a friend who had access to a recycling facility.
So this is like an electronics recycling facility. Computers often contain a lot of toxic components and need to be disposed of properly. And Rowdy heard there were Xbox DVD drives for sale at this facility cheap. So he went down there to take a look. While he was down there, he found a couple of Xbox 360 motherboards. But these looked different than what Rowdy knew an Xbox 360 motherboard looked like. So he took a few of these motherboards home, popped one into his Xbox 360, and booted it up. And the words that Rowdy said next were, "Holy shit, this is a freaking dev motherboard."
That's right. Strange blue Xbox 360. That dev kit was strange and blue, all right? Oh, wow, Rowdy, what have you done? When Rowdy returned to the recycling facility, he found that there were seemingly thousands of these kits. The kits were there to be destroyed, but they hadn't been yet. So to a man like Rowdy, this was a life-changing, world-changing discovery for him and the rest of the Xbox modding community.
He went back to the facility to look for more and couldn't believe what he saw.
There were thousands and thousands and thousands of kits.
So this is very bad for Microsoft. And there's even an instance, potentially an instance, of Microsoft perhapsibly trying to sabotage one of these devices or these devices in general in advance, because another Avalanche member, Schizo, had a kit that was covered in mud, which he called the Joe Dirt kit.
Here, I'll put it to you in this way. I had a kit that was covered in mud. And that's how the kit went to this facility. It was covered in mud. I called it the Joe Dirt kit. And I never cleaned it because I found it hilarious. I was like, what the hell did Microsoft do to these kits for it to be covered in mud?
They'd been dirtied up supposedly in hopes of being inoperable before being adequately disposed of, preventing a hacker from gaining access to quite literally the holy grail of hacking the Xbox. I mean, this is huge. Can I get my hands on one of those? Hell yeah! What? Just kidding. I don't want to hack it. I'm an actual developer now. Legally, I'm considered a developer, a video game developer. So I can't do that. I wouldn't do that, publishers. I really want to be taken seriously in this world. Or whatever. I don't know. I'm making a game. It's pretty cool. It's pretty fun. I'm really enjoying it. Never done anything I've enjoyed more in my entire life. I'm already an expert. Unfortunately for Minecraft Steve, the dev kits had been discovered, and they started to hit the market after Rowdy got them for members of Avalanche and other trusted Xbox hackers.
Rowdy grabbed all that he could and started passing them out to everyone in Team Avalanche. And people didn't take just one. You took one just to take apart, and then you grabbed another to try modding it, and then you grabbed another to see what it was capable of on Xbox Live and stuff. And there was just so many kits going around that it was so easy to get multiples of them. It sort of became a business for Rowdy. Not that he really wanted to get rich off it, but he wanted to put the kits in the hands of Xbox hackers that he knew and trusted.
Also, I know his name's not Steve. It's Bill Gates, Microsoft guy. I just thought it'd be funny to say Steve Jobs because it's Apple, and then Minecraft Steve because now Microsoft owns Minecraft. Beyond running homebrew code, playing games with developer options enabled, and everything else modders and hackers wanted, the DevKit 360 also had something no one expected to find. The developer kits had access to PartnerNet, a developer version of Xbox Live with access to unreleased games and other content.
One of the most amazing things about owning a dev kit was the ability to access PartnerNet.
Basically, it's the developer version of Xbox Live. So all kits had a air quotes credit card, so you could make any profile and just jump on PartnersNet, and you could, if need be, purchase Xbox Live points at that time. But 90% of the time, developers would put their games up for testers to get a hold of it or to demo, and you download it. It acted exactly as retail Xbox Live did at that time.
Now this is crazy. Here's some footage of showing off the dev kit system. Check this out. It's really interesting.
Default XX is just a NAND flasher. I had dumped the NAND in case something bad happened to the console, which I highly doubt it will, but then again, these things are very dangerous in that sense. because you could easily mess it up if you don't know what you're doing.
Now back to David Pecora. He was one such individual who would find access to a developer kit and even maybe resell a couple of them. David even met another individual, Justin May, through this. Justin May, by the way, is another member of what's now known as the Xbox Underground. David and Justin would soon be joined by Sonad and Dylan, a couple of other young fellers interested in hacking these beautiful consoles and eager to get their hands on these developer kit Xbox 360s. Together, these four geniuses, the core of the Xbox Underground, began their snoops all over the internal servers for Xbox, and even realizing they could access the servers for game development companies sending files to Xbox. I mean, they really had some vulnerabilities in this dev-facing relationship with game companies and the median of this dev kit. I mean, this was like, this had to be a fucking nightmare when the cap popped off this. Not the pop cap off this damn thing. I need to wash my clothes. I shit myself. This had all started with just the desire to have the same accessibility on the 360 that they'd had with the original Xbox, but it was quickly becoming much deeper and more intrusive and illicit than they'd ever imagined. The worst thing that they could do on the Xbox original was play some Nintendo games on it instead of just Xbox titles. But now they were accessing unreleased games and DLCs, and this would soon become dangerous for everyone involved.
My role was I was a system administrator for the servers, and they utilized my servers to kind of play a part in accessing all different things.
Those things included the design specifications for the unreleased Xbox One system and software used to train US soldiers to fly Apache helicopters, exposing a major weakness in the US Army's cyber security.
So the team has assembled, the group, they were not your average 30-year-old basement dwellers, but they were closer to a bunch of teens and young adults. And this group just started as a bunch of guys who love video games and were obsessed with trying to play them early on. However, this would eventually evolve into a multi-layered crime scenario that would get them into insane amounts of trouble, and that's where the legend of this story comes from. It's, you know, I love this story. It's really cool because nobody actually got hurt. It sucks, it's sad or whatever. You know, you shouldn't be a hacker. You should use your powers for good or whatever the go to DEF CON and hack. I mean, I don't know, dude. But I love stories like this. I don't know if it's in bad taste. I don't read the room very well, to be honest. So now the hacking begins. First, one of the hackers, Dylan, receives a message from an online friend who has sent him a list of usernames and matching email addresses with passwords, which were all stolen from Epic Games. So he tried the email and password on different websites, including the person's email, and it worked. And in the emails, he found a password for admin060606, which allowed him to enter the internal network at Epic, which this would be impossible news not to share. So Dylan sends David his newfound server access and lets him in too. And David finds a ton of data, some of which is just unreleased games. It's important to note that the group did limit themselves to only looking at games, not stealing credit cards or personal information or data along those lines. So there's a level of nobility there.
So they did make some money in this enterprise, but it wasn't their top priority. They left hundreds of thousands of credit card numbers on the table. They stole documents that would have been worth millions of dollars to foreign governments or rivals of Microsoft. They didn't use those to sell them. They built prototypes in their bedrooms instead. For them, it was this thrill, this buzz, this kick of being in their bedrooms and knowing that this gang of teenagers really was running circles around these multi-billion-dollar companies.
So David not only finds unreleased Gears of War 3, but also the source code for Gears of War 3, which is very important to have if you want to, you know, make a game or have access to every functionality or permission of a game. And generally, they don't just give the source code out. So this guy had the ultimate pirate ticket, essentially. He had the ultimate way to pirate a game. That is the game. He has the game. He's got access to the game. He could do whatever he wanted with builds, etc.
Source code is the fundamental component of computer programs written by a programmer in plain text and understandable by a human being. Source code, once transformed into binary machine code of ones and zeros, tells the computer what to do.
So with this newfound crazy information, the man reached out to his other hacker friend Sonad, who had configured his modem at home and allowed it to spoof and hide his IP address, which made it perfect for him to be the one to commit to the large download to pirate Gears of War. So he didn't do it himself, he got his buddy Sonad, aka Gonad. Just kidding. His hacking name was not Gonad. That'd be cool though, that'd be my hacking name, Gonad. Gonad. Sonad then embarks on a painstakingly long download of hundreds of gigabytes. This is back in the day when the internet sucked too. He burned the data onto 8 different Blu-ray drives and sent them out to David. David seemed to be pretty excited to try out the build, but it was basically unplayable because it was such an early build. Then they sent the Blu-rays to the rest of their buddies, and days later, it appeared on the Pirate Bay. I don't know if you guys know what the Pirate Bay is, but that is a place where you can do evil shit. You can download evil stuff. I'm against pirating software. I don't really care. I've never done it myself. The Pirate Bay is a place where people illicitly download paid games to be downloaded for free, and they're cracked and all sorts of stuff. I never did that to The Sims, Adobe Premiere Pro. I never did that. That's pretty much all I did it with. I mean, I never did that with either one of those things. So now an early build of Gears of War is publicly available for free on the Pirate Bay and exploded in gaming news. Now this, for our group of ne'er-do-wells, hackers, that's terrible news. Wind of their crimes ended up on headlines. And then after digging a bit more into the files they had access to, they stumbled across an email that talked about Epic reaching out to the FBI in order to find the leak and investigate the source of it. And it stated that they have no direct evidence to where it came from, but it will be investigated further. So that's really bad. You know, that's like you've committed a massive crime right there with like a lot of liability too. I mean, how much money went into building Gears of War 3? And how much damage did you cause to the bottom line of that for all those employees and publishers, etc., by leaking it early? If any, it'd be difficult to prove, but still. Tim Sweeney said Gears of War 3 cost between $48 and $60 million to develop. It's a good game, it makes sense. It's a beautiful game. I'm really excited for E-Day, actually. I love Gears of War. I love Marcus. I love Gears of War. I love video games, dude. I'm a massive enjoyer of video games. I'm so appreciative to live in a world in which video games are awesome and fun. Even though they've kind of sucked recently, but they're getting better. They're getting better. They're listening. So these genius dumbasses ignore the danger that they see directly before them in that Epic is reaching out to the FBI to investigate the massive crimes they just committed, and they began scanning the rest of Epic's servers, eventually stumbling upon more company access credentials. And this allowed them to get into servers of different companies, hacking into Microsoft, EA, Bungie, Blizzard, Valve, Activision, any massive company at the time they basically were hacking into. And obviously they began downloading more and more unreleased games, and a year goes by. More and more people want a piece of the action and they want to join the hacker group. These guys are becoming legends. Who's hacking into this? Who's getting on this stuff? Who are these people? Ah! That was Steve Minecraft saying that. Eventually, the hacking spread into companies like Intel, AMD, Disney, Warner Brothers, and even Google. And now our affected groups are north of billions of dollars in yearly revenue. This is not going to end well. Probably close to quadrillions, to be honest. So things still were going pretty well for the Xbox Underground until August of 2012, in which they'd hit the jackpot. Folders and files by the codename Durango were found, and these files had schematics and plans for circuit boards and more. The men had stumbled onto the plans for the next iteration of the Xbox. The Xbox One. So the plans are all there, and naturally they debate on what they should do. Should they sell them to the highest bidder, or should they try to build the prototype themselves? I don't know. Chaotic good or vice versa. Chaotic evil or chaotic good. It would be so funny if they just built their own Xbox. That's so funny. Regardless, they couldn't wait, and they decided to order the parts that were needed. And apparently they're quite cheap. After the parts arrived and were assembled, they have the working prototype, but no games to play on it with, obviously. Seemingly useless, the group agrees to sell it, and a buyer wishes for it and sends them the money. However, the deal seemingly falls through. They get nervous, and the package never arrives to the buyer. This makes them fear that the FBI will intercept the package and they will all be in deep shit. In spite of the failure, they move on, and Dylan uploads pictures of their working prototype online without telling the group. What a dumbass. So then the Xbox prototype is now publicly on eBay for the entire public to see, and it has gotten a lot of attention. So much attention, in fact, that the eBay page had $20,000 worth of bids before Microsoft filed a claim to get it off the auction. Dylan then, seemingly without an instinct of self-preservation, makes a stupid mistake and falls into the fame and clout trap. He had the entire auction under his username Super Day, and he got an invite to talk on a podcast about his hacks and his renowned fame in the hacker community. And obviously, this is the worst decision anyone who is committing crimes and hacking could make, bringing publicity to himself and eventually the rest of his group that are doing illicit and illegal shit and distributing games illegally. And stealing the schematics for the next Xbox. Minecraft Steve is gonna get you, dude. As you can imagine, this chain of events is the chain of events that leads them all to ruin. All because of this reckless and seemingly addictive, weird, clout-hungry behavior. It's terrible because their hacking was impressive and they were pretty talented dudes. They're a group of rapscallions, I tell you what. It's obvious now to the rest of the group that Dylan left a blatant crumb trail directly to who's behind all this stuff, and many of the core members of the group tried to distance themselves from the group and Dylan in hopes of evading any punishment. However, the recklessness of Dylan eventually led to the downfall of the entire group, and the FBI and other federal agents got each member one by one. The first member to go down was not Dylan, it was Holly, aka Anime Freak. Holly went down just a couple of weeks after the prototype Xbox went up for auction, which is so funny. Why would you be so stupid? The following member to be raided was Sonad Neshwat, aka Sonic. When the FBI arrived at his home, they handed him a search warrant and confiscated all of his computers and stolen shit from Epic servers. With the warrant in hand, Sonad decided to post it on his Facebook group so all the other group members could see that they were likely to be raided soon and all go right to prison. I'm sure after seeing this shit, the remaining group members began to panic as their escapades were coming to an end against their will. However, one of the members, Dylan, the genius, took it upon himself to try and get one last dig at the FBI and all the major corporations they were hacking. He took information from the search warrant and doxed the judge and FBI who served the warrant. He then went on a forum and ordered a hit on them, and then in February of 2013, Dylan, aka Super Day, was raided and arrested by Australian police. He said that the police arrived at his home and almost breached the door before his parents opened it, and they sat him down, took all of his computers and dev consoles, and then he was taken away. Seemed like this guy wanted to imbue some harm on people involved in this. He would later claim that he didn't actually intend any harm, but when you put something like this out there, there's really no way to take any of that back. It's a very serious crime, and you're either a dumbass or you're just evil. I don't really know. Following the arrest of these three members, the three remaining members went into hiding and focused on their solo endeavors. Austin would fake FIFA coins and illegally sell them, and Justin went off and did his own thing. I don't know exactly what that was. He was probably behind the very popular 2013 Minecraft mod, Brewcraft. Actually, that was me. The final remaining member, David, tried to lay low until he met a guy online who said he could get into the Microsoft campus and steal a real prototype Xbox One. A person by the name of Arman, who lived in the same town as the Microsoft headquarters, which was in Redmond, Washington, and he claimed that he had a badge cloner and had walked around the campus and he knew where to get a hold of some prototypes. And the deal was that Arman would sneak into campus and get him, David, and Austin prototypes in exchange for Microsoft server credentials and a large sum of cash. The plan worked, and both David and Austin got their prototypes and all seemed well, except for the fact that Arman had applied to work at Microsoft and got a call a week later saying he was hired. And when he showed up, he was recognized as the man who stole the prototypes on CCTV and was arrested. For being genius crime hackers, these people are stupid. It's crazy to me. Following Arman's arrest, he begged both David and Austin to return the prototype consoles, and they didn't respond because they were assholes. And at this point, the law was not far behind them, and in early 2014, Austin would be arrested by the FBI in his home, and 2 months later, David would be stopped and arrested at the US border. All of the original members of the international hacking group were now in custody. Rest in peace, Xbox Underground. On April 22nd, the group went to court, and the defendants were accused in the indictment of participating in multiple conspiracies, including those related to computer fraud, copyright violations, wire fraud, mail fraud, identity theft, and stealing trade secrets. Furthermore, the charges included individual counts of aggravated identity theft, unauthorized access to computer systems, copyright violations, and wire fraud. The case appeared to be very dense and extremely well researched. It was almost like they had an informant on the inside the whole time. As it turned out, entire chat histories and video calls with Xbox Underground were recorded dating all the way back to 2011 when they first entered the Epic Games servers looking for new games.
Have you been listening to the shit that I have done?
The hackers were bugged by the FBI as they boasted of their work infiltrating government departments and high-profile companies.
I have shit to the US military. I have shit to the Australian Department of Defense.
In the indictment and in the search warrant, there is a repeated reference to Person A. As it turns out, Person A is the same person who helped David encrypt his hard drive and the same person who delivered the homemade Xbox prototype to the FBI. Justin May is Person A. Oh, what? At some point, Justin cut a deal with the FBI and became the group's top informant. What the f was that sound? The group pled guilty and all had very different experiences moving forward. David Pecora, following his charges, he worked with the FBI and explained how he was able to access so many corporate servers. He was sentenced to 18 months and served his full sentence, and once he was out of the pen, he finished college and worked in cybersecurity. A f***ing legend. Sanad would serve 18 months in prison and go back to college following his release, and while on probation, he was prohibited from even using a computer and even traveling to see family. This led to him turning to drugs and violating his probation, and he served another 9 months in prison. Currently, he lives with his sister. Holly LaRue was another member of the group, the youngest member of the group, and they did the least damage, so they were given an ankle monitor and forced to stay in their home. However, they couldn't handle the thought of going to jail. It ate away at them, so for some reason, they cut their ankle monitor and had a friend drive them to the Canadian border. They were stopped there and in a panic ran into Canada and threatened to jump off a bridge, and in the end, they stabbed themselves numerous times trying to take their own life. They survived and were apprehended, then served a 2-year sentence, and once out, changed their name to Holly and came out as trans, and then unfortunately took her own life. Austin was the next, and he would never have to serve any prison time and agreed to aid the FBI in cracking down on illegal FIFA tokens in exchange for 3 years of probation. Today, he works in, guess what? Cybersecurity. You said McDonald's? You're an idiot. Dylan is the only one who pled not guilty because he believed they tried to tag him with every charge despite him not committing everything charged against him, and he would flee the country to the Czech Republic where he had citizenship due to his mother being from there. And this in spite of the fact that his passport was taken away.
To be honest, it's quite scary that I was able to leave on my Australian passport because they actually have a system called PACE. It's a system that they use at border control to basically find out if you're a criminal, if you're trying to leave the country, and it'll flag you normally.
When he fled the country, his mother was arrested for supposedly aiding in his flight. But Dylan claimed that his mother never gave him any money or passports and that someone had to take the fall. From the Czech Republic, he went to Great Britain and opened a cybersecurity company, but since 2020, he has shut it down and disappeared entirely. So now we got our boy Justin, the informant, the snitch rat. It wouldn't be until 2017 that Justin would finally be arrested. Okay, he still got arrested. By that point, the other members of the group had all served their sentences and were free or on probation. And during his arrest, Justin was found with a new BMW and $40,000 in cash. He was charged in 2021 with fraud, tax evasion, and fencing. Fencing is when you knowingly sell stolen goods, like a fence in a video game. This man was an intermediary facilitating the movement of stolen property by buying it from thieves and selling it to others, or otherwise helping to conceal its origins. That's awesome. That's a really cool charge. Fencing is considered a form of theft-related crime and is often charged alongside related offenses such as receiving stolen property, conspiracy or accessory to theft, and money laundering. This guy had to serve 8 years in prison and pay a $4 million fine. I find it bizarre that the informant is the one who suffered the harshest punishment when he was the one supplying all the information to the FBI. It's bizarre. Obviously, it's because of the fencing and stealing a lot of shit, but compared to Justin, everybody else got a slap on the wrist. I love the Xbox Underground story so much, and these guys showed the world how fragile our online world really is, but just in the world of gaming. Imagine the world of defense, or where things actually matter. If you have any sort of information or data online, it is more than likely not safe, and if someone wants to get it, they absolutely will. That is, of course, unless you just never connect to the internet. Then you'll be safe. You can do a lot of things to mitigate risk and protect and secure yourself, but at the end of the day, the best you can hope for is that the people who are really smart and really good at hacking are on our side. So this story, in spite of being awesome, it does have tragedy. Obviously, there was a loss of life as a result of the arrest and just how crazy everything got. And there were warnings from the very beginning. A bro named Schizo was telling them to stop and was like, you guys are going too crazy. You know it's bad when your bro Schizo is telling you to slow your roll a little bit there. At the end, every member learned a valuable lesson and will probably never attempt to do this again, and most of them work in cybersecurity. But the Xbox Underground's rise and fall echoed far beyond their time, marking a pivotal moment in the tech world's confrontation with digital security. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Go to the Gump Club to watch uncensored videos if you want. You can also get free shipping on Sour Boys and whatnot. Go to sour.gg to buy some candy. Use code XBOX to get 20% off your order and buy some candy today. I'll see you in the next video.